So good morning, students. Good morning to all of you. Very good morning, students. Now we'll start with this topic on the block credit. So what I have done, students, this context is that I have picked up the theme, as you can see over here. So what we have done is that ITC students, as I told you, we'll do a theme-based particular approach. So today's theme is block credit, and on the block credit, whatever are the relevant questions which are there in the material, students, that exactly students would be covered in that particular class. So that way, on the theme based approach, primarily we will complete the ITC, because otherwise it becomes very monotonous and mechanical in this regard. It will become very monotonous and mechanical, students, in this regard, right? The way we generally do it primarily. So let's try to be more focused, more relevant, more productive so far as the coverage of the ITC would be concerned. So students, here there are set of questions which are based on a particular theme. That is how the things has been identified, and we will do those particular questions. As you can see from the module itself, the list of the questions are quite enormous. Obviously, students, if I am doing 80% of the question, 20% would be given to you as an assignment for your own practice. So that way it will also help you develop an ability to get the confidence on that area of the questions which is based on a particular theme. Is that point clear to all of you, students? Students, today we are doing the block credit part. So before I enter into those questions now, very quickly I'm going to revise with all of you the concept of block credit, students. Very quickly, students, just to brief you, very quickly, students, to brief all of you, students. As you can see over here, students, in this context, section 16 and 17 lays down the general condition on the basis of which the ITC can be availed. Section 16 and section 17 lays down the general condition, students, for which the ITC can be availed, students. And therefore, and section 18 talks about the special condition. Section 18 talks about what? The special condition, students. That exactly the point. And therefore, students, let's take across section 17 first. So, area wherein the credit is blocked. Under what particular cases the credit gets blocked, students, for ITC claim? Just a second, students, just a second. Let's start. Students, today evening we'll complete that registration Q&A also. So, right, 9 o'clock we'll do this particular Q&A of the registration topic also. So we'll finish it off that topic as well. So now, students, in this context, just first and foremost, just can you write these questions on the block credit quickly? Every one of you, just write those questions. What are the questions on the block credit, students? Question number 1, 2, 3, 8, 10, 12, 21, 25, and 35 and 40 would be homework. Please write. Question number 1, 2, 3, 8, 10, 12, 21, 25, and then question number 35 and 40 will be as a homework. Fine, students? Perfect. So this is a set of the questions, students, which are being there in this regard. Now let's deal with this one, students. Block credit, students, there are two parts in this. The block credit, students, have got two parts in this regard. Part A and Part B, we'll discuss those things. First, Part A I'll discuss with you, and Part B, as and when the question will come at that particular point of time, I'll discuss with you point number B as well. In this context. So now if you see over here, ineligible motor vehicle, students. Now first of all, ineligible motor vehicle, if you see over here, in this context, please have a look over here in this scenario. Ineligible motor vehicle, exceptions are being given to you. exceptions are being maintained in this regard, students. And therefore, if you see very, very carefully, what is motor vehicle, students, in this context? Definition of motor vehicle in this context? Students, those are the motor vehicle which does not, just see the definition over here. If you see the definition, students, is coming in the next page. And in the definition part, ineligible motor vehicle. Can you see that? Motor vehicle for transportation of passenger with a seating capacity of up to 13%, including the driver. The seating capacity will include a driver. So that is your the capacity of this particular motor vehicle, which is ineligible. You will say, sir, what about more than 13%? Obviously, students, those cannot be considered as a motor vehicle. We will have to say that any capacity of more than 13 will be considered not like a motor vehicle. It would be considered like a special purpose vehicle, isn't it? It will be considered as what? As a special purpose vehicle. Maybe like a truck or any other kind of such those things. So therefore, if there is a seating capacity of not more than 13%, only then it is a motor vehicle which is an ineligible motor vehicle, and the credit for that is blocked. Now, students, very important point I'm discussing with all of you as far as your presentation is concerned. If you see, students, what we are discussing is what, students, is the block credit. And you see over here in this context, when we are discussing a block credit, all these items, students, all these items, which is also getting a spillover in the next page, all these items that you can see are nothing but the cases of a block credit. So that is a general provision. So the general provision is a negative provision, which is about talking about that the credit will not be available in respect of this. Credit will not be available in respect of this. What is this? Whatever has been mentioned over here. Now, as an exception, now when the exception is given to you below this, all the exceptions are being given. What does it imply? It implies that the credit ITC, is it available over here? And the answer is yes. So always have a habit when you write your answer or when you present your answer, you should always put up what, students? In this context, always put up the first line has to be about the block credit. And then if the question demands about, they are talking about the exception, then write in the next sentence and in the next line that however in the following case the credit or ITC in respect of that item is allowed. So what is that? Please make a mention of that exception. I hope that the structure of your presentation is clear to all of you. Whenever you write the answer on the block credit, did you have made a note of it? Did you all made a note of it? This is how you need to present your answers. I hope that every one of you are clear with this one now. In this context, that exactly is the point. So now, friends, with ineligible motor vehicle, this has been given to you. Let's see the exception particular part. And if you see the exception particular part, there are three exceptions which are being there. What is that? When used for making taxable supplies of what? Of such motor vehicle. Quite a simple example, students. Like for example, students, I am a dealer of a motor vehicle. And being a dealer of a motor vehicle, what I do? I first purchase the motor vehicle. And at the time when I have purchased the motor vehicle, whatever is the ITC in respect of that, whatever is the ITC, students, in respect of that, in this context, that primary, students, will I be in a position to avail the ITC? And the answer is yes. Why? Because I have purchased the motor vehicle for the purpose of its supply. So the classic example is a dealer, a showroom dealer, which is purchasing from the manufacturer, and that particular car would then be supplied to the customers. So when he purchase, the inward supply will have a GST. So that GST, can the ITC be claimed? And the answer is yes, by the dealer. Point number two is when it is used for taxable, making a taxable supply. So what is my output supply? Students, in point number two, what is my output supply? Transportation of passenger. Transportation of passenger, students. So you know which category of supplier we are talking about it, who is engaged in the activity of providing the output supply of transportation of passenger, students. That exactly is the point, students. That exactly is the point, students. This is how the things has to be looked upon as far as the point number two is concerned. And then coming to point number three, imparting training on driving such ineligible motor vehicle. So this is for training school, which is purchasing motor vehicle, but their output supplies. What is their output supply, students, in this case? Their output supply, students, in this particular case is to provide a training in motor vehicle, the training school. So for them, whether motor vehicle is an eligible input supply on which the ITC can be claimed, answer is yes. I hope that you now have understood the line of approach in which you need to go through your presentation of your answers. Clear, everyone? Perfect. Vessel and aircraft, students, on the similar lines. Those who are having vessel and aircraft ineligible. Now, if you read the exception, when it is eligible, you will come to know. So there is no big deal of it. Any questions which are there, I'll come back if you want. But on the similar line, the exceptions are being created for vessels and aircraft also. Now, this is an important one, students. General insurance, servicing, repair and maintenance relating to ineligible motor vehicle, vessels and aircraft. So in this case, students, like for example, I'm a chartered accountant in practice. I have purchased a motor vehicle, and that motor vehicle I'm using in the course of my business or for furtherance of my business. So whether that motor vehicle, will it be considered as an eligible input supply for me? Answer is no. Okay. Not only that, I would have also taken the insurance. I would be incurring the repair and maintenance on those motor vehicles. So whether that also, will it be considered as an input supply for me? Again, the answer is no. But think logically. For the category of the person, be careful. For the category of the person for whom this motor vehicle is an eligible input supply. This motor vehicle is an eligible input supply for those category of person. If this expenditure has been incurred, which expenditure is incurred? This expenditure is incurred. Then whether now in respect of such expenditure can we say that this is an eligible input supply? Answer is yes. And the answer is, I hope that every one of you are clear with this one, students. Everyone. That exactly the point, students. That exactly is the point, students. So now, students, let's primarily have a look to this particular various exceptions in which the expenditure incurred for general insurance, servicing, repair and maintenance relating to such items of motor vehicle, vessels and aircraft, in what particular cases it will be eligible for the purpose of ITC. So please have a look. Point number one, first exception, when ineligible motor vehicle, vessel or aircraft are used for eligible purpose. What are eligible purpose? I already discussed with all of you, which are already considered in the exception that I already told you. Point number two, when received by manufacturer of ineligible motor vehicle, vessel or aircraft. So now talk about the manufacturer of the vehicle, students. Now if the manufacturer of vehicle, for them it is a stock in trade. Now if they do the general insurance of their stock in trade, so the insurance company which is billing to the manufacturer for that, whether for the manufacturer, is it an eligible input supply? Answer is yes. Because when it is received by whom? By the manufacturer of the ineligible motor vehicle, vessels or aircraft. So for the manufacturer, it is an eligible input supply. That is point number two. Now please read this point number three, students. Point number three is an important one. I'll give you an example also, don't worry. Just read this point number three. Point number three. Now supposingly, students, like Tata company is doing the insurance of its motor vehicle, which is the stock in trade for them. Now the total insurance that they have taken is 500 crore from say Bajaj insurance company. Now Bajaj have taken up the insurance of 500 crores. Obviously, they understand that the implication of its liability would be huge if at all the claim will be arising. So to get an immunity, the Bajaj insurance company is doing a hedging. Students, the Bajaj insurance company is doing what? A hedging. Hedging means like it is taking a co-insurance. So co-insurance has been taken from say Birla. So Birla from Birla company, they are taking a co-insurance. So co-insurance of 250 crores. Now Birla will be issuing the invoice to Bajaj for this, for doing the co-insurance. They will be issuing the invoice to whom? To Bajaj. Now for Bajaj, whether the insurance invoice raised by Birla on which the GST is charged, on that GST, can it avail the ITC credit? Answer is yes, it can. Why is it so? Point number three. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. So this is about taking the insurance, taking the ITC credit on the insurance, which is done by the main insurance company, and the supplier of that is a co-insurance company. Who is the supplier for it? The co-insurance company in my example. My example, it was Birla, who is raising the tax invoice on whom? On Birla and on Bajaj, and accordingly Bajaj being the recipient of this insurance service, they will be eligible to avail the ITC. I hope that every one of you are clear with this one. In this regard, leasing, renting, hiring of motor vehicle, vessel or aircraft on which ITC is disallowed. In this context, friends, this particular part again you can just put across in this particular way. Exceptions are being given 1 and 2. The two exceptions which have been given to you, simple exceptions are there, not a difficult one. So what is the exception, student? Supposingly, herein there is a particular person who is engaged in providing the motor vehicle on lease. Motor vehicle on lease. Now, for a very big particular function, it require 100 motor vehicle. Now, it has only 50 motor vehicle for itself. So what it does is that it is taking other 50 motor vehicle from another particular uh, motor vehicle company, which is giving the motor vehicle on hire. So that other motor vehicle company will now raise a tax invoice on this recipient, which is also providing the same service, same category of service. So therefore, the question is whether this recipient, which is also providing the same category of service, whether they will be in a position to avail the ITC. The answer is so. Therefore, that is what it is. Point number one. So, what is the exception? When used for making an outward taxable supply of same category, or as an element of a taxable composite or mixed supply. Student, this is a beautiful one. Huh? This part is a beautiful one. I will discuss with you in one particular question. I'll not explain you right now, but I'll discuss with you in one particular question on this particular part what they're talking about. So when this particular supply, which supply of leasing, renting or hiring of motor vehicle, if that has been taken or has been used for providing the same category of output service, same particular of output supply, then the the, the ITC can be taken on such inward supply. The ITC can be taken on such inward supply. Is that clear to all of you, students? Now, students, supposingly a particular company is taking a particular company in its factory, they are taking the hiring of the motor vehicle for transportation of its employee. Hiring of the motor vehicle. Which motor vehicle? Not having a capacity of more than 13 trucks, 13 passengers. So if a company is taking this particular hiring service for its employees towards the transportation of its employees, then you will say it is not allowed because the output supply is not the same of the same category. So far as the company is concerned, the output supply is not of the same category. But if the company is bound statutorily, if the company is bound statutorily to provide to its employee such transport services, then yes, that particular case will be considered as an eligible input supply for such company. Is that clear to all of you students? Every one of you? So this is one thing that you should be very careful about it. But now, may I warn to all of you, please be very careful now what I'm explaining to you in this particular context. In this context, students. Thus, if the question students, if the question of students in this context, students, if the question only tells you, supposingly, that the company is providing the transportation service for which it has contracted with an agency for hiring of the motor vehicle. That is it. Nothing else. Company is providing transportation facility to its employee for which it has done a contract with an agency for hiring of the vehicle. That is it. Nothing else. Now you tell me students, now in this case, whether you are going to take the ITC in this question. Will it be getting in this context, students? That, students, what we will say in this context. And the answer is no. Students, and the answer is no. Why the answer is no? The reason being, this you are doing it in the exception. Huh? Be careful. And in the exception, unless the question is giving you that condition. What is the condition, students? Here the condition is that the it should be a statutory obligation for the employer to provide such transportation service to its employees. Unless that you find in the question, you will not write that the ITC can be taken. You will have to write it otherwise. You will have to write it otherwise, students. In this context, students. So, students, that exactly is the point over here in this context. So, I hope that all of you are clear with this proposition. Every one of you. So, we will discuss in the question also, but at the very outset, I'm telling you that your approach in your answer has to be if the question is on the exception, unless they are also specific about the conditions which are attached in the exception, unless they are specific, you will not say yes to your answer. That yes, ITC is available. They need to be specific. Only then you will say yes. I hope that every one of you are clear with this. Food and beverage, outdoor catering, beauty treatment, health service, life insurance, etc. So students, all these category of services, students, as you know, block supply. Now, same thing. What are the same thing? If this service has been taken for the purpose of making the same category of output supply, for the purpose of making the same category of output supply, then yes, then we will consider this to be an eligible input supply on which the ITC can be taken. A simple example, students. An outdoor caterer, he has received an order, and this outdoor caterer though does not make desserts. So for desserts, the outdoor caterer has hired another contractor. Now that other contractor will raise the tax invoice on this main contractor. So whether for this main contractor, the invoice so raised, whether that supply which is given by the subcontractor, will it be considered to be an eligible supply on which the ITC can be availed? And the answer is yes. It is not a block credit. It is falling under the exception. Why? Because I have taken the outdoor catering service for the purpose of providing the same category of output supply. For the purpose of providing the same category of output supply. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. And students, here also the same thing. Or as an element of same category of output supply, or as an element of a taxable composite or mixed supply, or as an element of a taxable composite or mix supply. What is this composite mix supply? Again, students, one question is there, beautiful question. In that I'll touch upon this particular part. And second is, students, if statutorily you are required, if the employer is required statutorily to provide such services to whom, to this employee, then yes, we will say that the ITC would be available. The ITC would be available, students, in this regard. So I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Every one of you. Now, students, there are other cases also. It keeps going on in the next page because that page was not sufficient. What are the other cases? Membership of club or health and fitness, blocked. Exception, students, statutory obligation. Travel benefit for employees on vacation, leave travel concession, students. So if the company is providing leave travel concession to the employees, block credit. Exception, statutory obligation. Then, students, this inward supply of non-resident taxable person, we'll discuss it in some of the questions. This is very important, students. This part is very important. There are a couple of things in this small category, very important. They are targeting in the question, students. What is that? If the tax is paid, now this is also block supply, yeah, students. Block supply. If the tax is paid under section 74, I am marking, students, I am highlighting these three things. Just see in your question 74, 129 or 130. 74, 129 or 130 as the case may be. In this regard. So students, in this context, in this particular context, students, the tax paid under section 74, which has been there in this regard. As you know, what is 74, students? The show cause notice is given by the proper officer. And this is the case of show cause notice, which is given when you have short paid, not paid your GST. And what was the reason of short payment and non-payment of GST? What is the reason? Reason was there was what, students? Fraud, misrepresentation, suppression of fact on your. If that is the case, and because of that, the show cause notice was raised under section 74 for raising the demand, then in that particular case, whatever is the associated ITC on the inward supply for that portion of output supply on which the demand is raised, you will not be in a position to avail the ITC on such inward. You will not be in a position to avail the ITC on such inward supply. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Same goes with section 129, students. What is 129? 129, students, is about the amount which is paid for release of goods and conveyance in transit which are detailed. So that is about the e-way bill that you all are aware of it. So therefore, say for example, in this particular case, the e-way bill has not been issued and the conveyance has moved out. So obviously, what is the intention behind doing this kind of a strategy that without the e-way bill, some consignments are being moving out? Because the reason is very clear, so as to avoid the payment of your GST on your outward supply. So if at all those particular conveyances which are were in transit got detained because of this reason, then in that situation, students, what will happen? Whatever, so the demand will be raised on you. GST, you will have to make the payment of it. Okay. Now, if you pay the GST, can you avail the associated ITC on the inward supply for such goods? There is no. You cannot avail the ITC on the associated inward supply on such goods. You will not be in a position to avail the ITC. That is the point. And 130, students, is about the fine paid in lieu of confiscation. So, students, what you need to do in that question is that be very careful about the reference of this section. And if you find that any reference of this section is made, then straight away you will say ITC is blocked under 17.5. What are the other points, students, of the block supply? Because the list is huge, so it is going to the next page. Now, if you see over here, students, inward supply charge to the composition levy. This we have already discussed in the composition scheme. The rate of GST is low, but you will not be in a position to avail any ITC. That is the point. So this is very important, students. Can you see this one? Goods which are lost, stolen, destroyed, written off, or disposed of by way of gift or free samples, or disposed of by way of gift or free samples. Will you be in a position to get the ITC on that? And the answer is no. And the answer is no. Goods or services which are used or intended to be used for CSR related activity. Same thing. Again, that is a block supply. Students, many questions are there. You will find in the form of an adjustment that it was being given as a free samples, or it was given as a gift, or these goods were being destroyed. You will find many questions of that nature. Simply put, what you're going to say, it is a block credit. Inward supply used for personal consumption. That is something which is known to you in this context. Now, over here, students, in this context, part, if you see, students, over here, can you see this one now? Part B, students, this part B is about what? The block supply. Now, this part B, students, I will be discussing with you along with the question. Part A I have discussed with you. Now, this part B, I'm going to discuss with you along with the question, students. So, are you ready for the question, students, in this context, in this regard? Let's start. Question number MCQ we'll do later on. Students, just again I'm repeating, please take a note of it, those who have not taken a note of it. The block credit, these are the questions, students, that we will have to deal with it. 1, 2, 3, 8, 10, 12, 21, 25, and 35 and 40 would be the homework question. Fine, students. Perfect. Let's start with the first question, students, then. All of you. So here, Xenon Private Limited, a registered supplier in Agra, is engaged in manufacture of taxable goods. Goods valued at rupees 10,50,000 were supplied by the company to Fresh Bites Private Limited, a registered supplier located at Firozabad, without the cover of an invoice with a fraudulent without the cover of an invoice with a fraudulent intent. Since the company evaded tax by not issuing the invoice for the supply, a show cause notice was issued by the proper officer under Section 74, requiring the company to pay the tax at 12% and applicable interest and penalty. The company paid the tax, interest, and penalty after the order was passed by the proper officer. Examine the ITC entitlement of Fresh Bite Private Limited in respect of the tax of rupees 1,26,000. Students, how you're going to write over here in a simple sentence. As per 17.5, tax paid under 74. Tax paid under which section? 74, 129, 136, 130 is not available as IT. That is it. Simple sentence. Your provision is over. Now, this rule need not be written. Rules explain what are the rules is explaining what is that 74, 129, 130 all about. So that is about the same thing. On account of fraud, willful misstatement, suppression of fact cannot be availed as ITC. So you don't remember the rule. That is perfectly fine. You can explain your own way. That these are the cases of tax payment where there was involvement of fraud, willful misstatement, or suppression of fact, and hence in such cases the ITC cannot be availed by the supplier. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. So the main provision is only one sentence. This is blocked. That is it. And then further explanation that what these cases are all about. Just explain that and that is all. Move on. Come to question number 2 now, students. Flamingo Limited. This is a beautiful question. Mark this as an important one. Flamingo Limited is an airline providing passenger transportation services by air. The company offers meals of premium quality to passenger on board the aircraft. The value of such meals is compulsorily included in the price of the air ticket. Compulsorily included, student. The company avails the outdoor catering service of Dhani Ram Private Limited for providing such meals to its customers. So the company is availing what? Outdoor catering services of Dhani Ram Private Limited for providing such meals to its customers. Examine whether Flamingo Limited can avail ITC on such outdoor catering service availed by it. So whether Flamingo Limited can avail ITC on such outdoor catering services availed by it. That exactly is the point, students. Over here. So now, obviously, students, herein, what is the inward supply? Inward supply, students, you can see it's an outdoor catering service. And what Flamingo Limited is supplier is doing? What is the outward supply? It is a passenger aircraft airline passenger service, airline services. So transportation of passenger by air, that is the outward supply. Now, obviously, students, if you see in this context, outdoor catering main provision says it is a blocked under 17.5. ITC is blocked under 17.5. That is the main provision. Now, there is an exception to that. What is the exception? If you see, there were two exceptions. One is a statutory employer is providing to its employee where the employer had a statutory obligation. So, definitely, this case is not on that. But the first exception that we have read, what was that first exception? First exception was in respect of where in this particular case the the inward supply has been used to provide the same category of the outward supply, or there was second point, or as an element of taxable composite or mixed supply, or repeat with me, or as an element of taxable composite or mixed supply. Now, definitely the first category of the exception, it is not fitting in that because it is not in the same category of output supply. So therefore, that same category of output supply rejected. But what about the second, or as an element of taxable composite or mixed supply? Now just check this one out. Whether now you will find outdoor catering service is bundled with what? Bundled with the transportation of passenger by air. So two services are bundled together. Now you have to identify if it is naturally bundled, in which one of the supply is predominant, the way I have taught you in the composite supply topic. Yes, it is naturally bundled. How I say so? Because it is compulsorily included in the price of the air ticket. So therefore, it is naturally bundled. And secondly, is about what, students? Secondly, one of the supply happens to be the predominant in character. Which is a supply which is predominant in character? The transportation of passenger by air. That supply happens to be predominant in character. And therefore, we say and conclude what, students? Tell me, is it a composite supply? Yes, it is a composite supply. It is not a mixed supply, it is a composite supply. And now, if it is a composite supply, then whether this outdoor catering service which I have availed as an input supply, can I say it is an element of my taxable composite supply? It should be taxable, students. Very importantly, it should be taxable. Is it an element of my taxable composite or mixed supply? And the answer is yes. And therefore, can I avail the ITC on such outward catering services? I can definitely avail the ITC on such outward catering services. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. If you see over here in this context, as per section 17.5, as per section 17.5, ITC on supply of inter area food and beverage and outdoor catering. Just food and beverages, you can delete it. Simply put, ITC on supply of inter alia. Why I am using the word inter alia, students, here? Why this word inter alia has been used? Because if you see, that has got a outdoor catering was one item. There were other items also like beauty treatment, health, isn't it? So there were a lot of other items which was being there in that. So in that, I don't have to write everything. I just need to pick up one thing. So if from many items you have to pick up one thing, use this word inter alia. So therefore, how you write it? As per section 17.5(1)(b), ITC on supply, ITC on supply of inter alia outdoor catering is blocked. Inter alia outdoor catering is blocked. However, ITC in respect of such goods or service or both shall be available. ITC in respect of such goods or services or both shall be available. Now that is an exception, students. Now you can write the exception to the above principle. What is the exception? Exception is where an inward supply of such goods or services is used by registrar for making an outward supply of taxable category. That is not the case. Or this is where the question is, or as an element of a taxable composite or mixed supply. This is where our question is. So you can split the answer like this, that however, under the following cases, the ITC on the outdoor catering services is available. Which are the cases? Case number 1, when such services has been taken to provide the same category of output supply. Or point number 2, what is point number 2? When it is used as an element of taxable composite or mixed supply. Can you write this one? And now you explain it. What do you explain it? First, you now need to go to section 8, structure your answer, section 8, and now you have to check whether this can be considered as a composite or mixed supply, for which we have concluded, yes, it is naturally bundled, in which one if is predominant, and hence it is a composite supply, and it will be classified with the predominant supply. And what is predominant in this case? Transportation of passenger by air, and hence it is a composite supply. Once you have done with this, then you come to the next line. And what is the next line? This outdoor catering service which has been taken is being provided as an element of the taxable composite supply. and accordingly ITC on such outdoor catering services is available. Is available. That is the way you need to put it across. I hope that every one of you are clear in which you need to present your answer. So first, how you present it? Scribble your notes. Point number one, blocked. Point number two, exception. In that exception, you provide 2 points. Which is the 2 point? If it is used for the same category of output supply, that is point number one. What is point number two? If it is used as an element of what? Element of providing taxable composite or mixed supply. That is second exception. Now you have to make it as a case of composite or mixed supply. That is your next point. So next point would be section 8, and through the meaning of composite supply, you make this as a case of a composite supply. And then fourth point, the last point. What is the last point? The last point would be that now in this composite supply, outdoor catering service which has been provided is an element of this taxable composite supply. Accordingly, the ITC can be taken. I hope the structure is clear to you. You have taken a note of the structure. That is how you need to present. That exactly is the point, students. With that, now I come to my third question on the block supply. Jumbo Sales Private Limited, a supplier of ready-made garments, announced buy one get two free offer on men's t-shirt on Diwali to boost its sales. You are required to advise the company on the availability of ITC in respect of inward supply used in relation to such supply. Required to advise the company on the availability of ITC in respect of inward supplies used in relation to such supply, students. You tell me in this context, what will be the case? Please tell me. Students, this kind of discussion we already had, I think, in the valuation chapter itself. Buy one, get one free. Now, if you see the block supply, we've just now discussed that anything which is provided as a gift or as a free sample, the supply is blocked. Therefore, the question to you is it indeed in the nature of free supply on which the ITC would be blocked? So, first point you have to write that any goods or service which is provided as a gift or as a free samples is a blocked supply under 17.5, is blocked under section 17.5. Now you need to put across your effort, students. Now you have to put across effort to tell whether it is a case of a free supply of the goods. So that the answer is no. Why? It is a case of a marketing strategy where at a particular price, two goods or services are provided, or in this case, three, because buy one, get two free, na? So it is total three. So at a discounted price, three goods are being supplied. So therefore, there is no free supply that has taken place. This is the case where at a discounted price, three goods are being supplied. And because there is no such item which is supplied as free or as a gift, therefore, in such case, the ITC is not blocked. The ITC can be availed by the supply. Is that part clear to all of you? That exactly is the point. So you can just try to cut out this all technical reference of circular number and the other things which are being given to you in this context. Students. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. Every one of you. That exactly the point, students. That exactly the point. So this is an important sentence. This is the point, students, that you should always bear it in mind. This is the point that you should bear it in mind. Just a second, students. The courier has come. Just a second. Let's start reading question number 8. Students, let's take question number 8 now. With reference to the provision of section 17, examine the availability of ITC in the following independent cases. What is this independent cases, students? Over here, in the following independent cases. Point number 1, MBF Limited, an automobile company, has availed works contract service for construction of a foundation on which a machinery, students, MBF Limited, an automobile company, has availed works contract service for construction of a foundation on which a machinery to be used in the production process is to be mounted permanently. Okay, that is the point, students. Now for that, I need to now take you to what? To the important part B, which I have told you that I will do it with the question. Can you all come to point B, students? Every one of you. This is the very important discussion today that we are going to have. Now, this I have found that students really struggle to write the answer in this category because the definition is so technical that students really find it difficult to see through this particular definition itself. Please have a look in this context. All of you. See over here, students, block credit part B. Works contract service for construction of immovable property. Now, there is an exception given to you in this context. What is the exception, students? In this regard, students, in this context, exception is that is, so first of all, if it is a works construction primarily, in this context, you will say block supply of an immovable property. But what is the exception? The first exception is that is the works contract service is for the plant and machinery. So if it is for a plant and machinery, students, then whether such works contract service will it be considered as an eligible input supply? To that the answer is it will definitely be considered as an eligible input supply. If you see point number B, what it says, works contractor availed by whom? By a works contractor for further supply of works contract service. So it is subcontracting, students. It is a subcontracting. So I have taken up a subcontractor and the subcontractor is giving me or providing me a works contract service. So that subcontractor raising a tax invoice on that GST is charged. Can I claim my ITC? And the answer is yes, because it is following the exception. Okay, that is the point. So this is the thing. And now here lies the important definition, students, that is plant and machinery. This is the most technical definition, students. And I'm telling you, you will have to put up the answers properly. And you can only do if you can write this definition of plant and machinery properly. See the definition of plant and machinery, students, over here. In this context. Can you see that definition, students? Now, students, in this context, this definition, students, has to be divided into three parts. Three parts, students. Or four parts, students. I might say four parts. There are four parts of today's definition. So there are total four parts, students. So far as definition is concerned. There are total four parts, students. So far as definition is concerned, plant and machinery. It means what? Apparatus, equipment, and machinery. Fixed to the earth. Fixed to the earth, students. And third one, students, is by foundation or structural support. Ask the question, it will become very easy. What was fixed? First is what was fixed. Second is, what is second? On what it was fixed. On what it was fixed, students. And the third one, students, to understand, the third one is how it was fixed. Ask this tough question, students. What was fixed? On what it was fixed? And how it was. You'll get a definition. And the last one, students, is exclusions. Last one is what? Exclusion. And that exactly the point. So tell me, students, what was fixed? Repeat with me. What was fixed? Apparatus, equipment, and machinery. What was fixed was apparatus, equipment, and machinery. On what it was fixed? It was fixed to the earth. How it was fixed? By foundation or by structural support. And now the exclusions. What are the exclusions, students? Can you see this? The exclusions, students, are herein land, building, and civil structure, LBC, and telecommunication tower. So LBCT. And the last one is a pipeline outside the factory. This is your exclusion. So what is your exclusion, friends? LBCT, land building, civil structure, and telecommunication tower. That is the one part. What is the second part, friends? In this case, the pipeline which is laid outside the factory. They have asked the questions in these cases. I'll show you now. You'll also witness that the questions have been raised in this context. So now, repeat with me the definition of plant and machinery, students. Repeat with me the definition of plant and machinery. The plant and machinery means what was fixed? Apparatus, equipment, machinery. On what it was fixed? Fixed to the earth. How it was fixed? By foundation or structural. And what is in the exclusion? Land, building, civil structure, telecommunication tower, and pipeline laid outside the factory. Is that point clear to all of you? Your definition is over. The most technical definition in this ITC is this plant and machinery. Students find it very difficult to write it. That is where the examiner has picked up this lacuna of the students. They are asking this question time and again. So coming back to this particular part, students, works contract, service for construction of immovable property, we are done with this. Now, if you see the second category, inward supply received by taxable person for construction of immovable property on his own account. So this is about, students, the construction service. So if I have taken the construction service, students, if I have taken the construction service of an immovable property, and that is for me, I'm taking. So say for example, I'm a company and I have to construct a factory. So I have taken a construction service from a contractor. Now that service I am taking for myself. That is on his own account. So if I am taking the service for myself, which service? Service of construction of an immovable property. Then in that case, it will be a block supply. I cannot argue that, look, boss, this factory I am using it for the purpose of my business. So this argument will not sustain because they have clearly mentioned. Can you see that? Including when such supplies are used in the course or furtherance of business. So I cannot say that the factory is going to be used for providing my output supply. This argument is not tenable. It is a block supply. It is a block supply. So therefore, you will not be allowed the ITC of the construction service. But is there any exception? Yes. What is the exception, students? See A and B. If you are doing a construction not of building but of plant and machinery, which plant and machinery as per definition? So whether that construction service will that be allowed to you? And the answer is yes. What is point number B? Construction of immovable property for others. For others means what? The same thing like subcontracting. What is there here? That is, I'm not taking it for my own account, but I'm taking to do it for others. So a builder, he is supposed to give a construction service. Okay, his output supply is construction service. Now this builder has taken a subcontractor. That subcontractor is providing the construction service to the builder. Now tell me, This construction service was taken by the builder was not for himself but to provide the construction service to others. And if that is the nature, then whether the subcontractors construction service, will it be eligible for ITC availment by the builder? And I hope that now even the part B is clear to all of you. Everyone, if part B is clear to all of you, now let's come back to the question now. Question number 8. Question number 8, students. Everyone, with reference to the provision of section 17, examine the availability of ITC in the following independent cases. MBF Limited, an automobile company, has availed works contract service for construction of foundation. Construction of what? Foundation, on which machinery is to be mounted permanently. Now you tell me, is this falling under the definition of plant and machinery? Is it falling in the definition of plant and machinery? To that the answer is yes. And if it is falling in the definition of plant and machinery, students, can I say therefore it is a for works contract for plant and machinery? And the answer is Friends, now let's friends, Shah and Construction procured. Have you all have got read the question, students? Now got the answer also. Very good. Shah and Construction procured cement, paint, iron rods, and service of architect and interior designer for construction of commercial complex for its one of its client. Now you tell me, supplies has been taken for construction of immobile property, which is the commercial complex. So you will write in the simple word. This is a supply which has been taken for an immobile property, for construction of an immobile property, and accordingly it is a block supply. So write the first sentence. Supplies has been taken for construction of immobile property, which is a block supply. Simple sentence. Have you written this? Supplies has been taken for construction of immobile property, which is block supply. Under 17.5. What is point number 2? However, as per the exception, if the supply has been taken for construction of point number 1, plant and machinery, point number 2, for construction for others, construction of for others, then what, students? Then it will not be considered as a block supply, and ITC can be availed in respect of such inward supply. ITC can be availed in respect of such inward. Okay, now you tell me. Now you have written the answer. See, you have written every provision, but in a simplistic manner. This is the catch. You make the life of the examiner easy, he will reward you with very handsome marks. That is what the structuring is all about. And therefore, when I'm putting my effort to define the structure of your answer, do ensure to take the structuring of it. Primarily, that is very important. I hope that you are making the structure also parallelly as we are discussing out this entire Q&A. So now you can conclude that whether ITC is available, and the answer is yes. Come to point number 3. ABC Limited availed maintenance and repair service from Jaggi Motors for a truck used for transporting its finished goods. Now, students, maintenance and repair. Remember that in that exception, all that service, insurance, maintenance and repair, servicing, if it is used for transportation of goods, that was covered in the exception. Was it covered in the exception? And the answer is yes. So, is it eligible? Again, the answer is yes. So, you will start writing the fact that in this particular context, that servicing, maintenance, general insurance of a motor vehicle is a block supply. However, if such supplies is taken to provide the transportation of the goods, supply has been taken for transportation of the goods, then in that particular context, whether the ITC will it be available, and the answer is yes. That is covered in the exception. That is it. Over. With that, students, now we come to question number 10. As per the list which I have already given to you, please come to question number 10 now. Krishna Motors is a car dealer selling cars of an international car company. It also provides maintenance and repair service of the cars sold by it, as also of the other cars. Maintenance and repair service, students. Now, tell me whether this Krishna Motor, because he's a car dealer, for him motor vehicle is an eligible goods for the purpose of ITC, because he's a dealer in that. And if the motor vehicle is eligible for this category of supplier, if the motor vehicle is eligible for this category of supplier, then whether the maintenance and repair services which is taken by him for such motor vehicle, whether that would be considered as an eligible supply, to that the answer is. It seeks your advice on availability of ITC in respect of the following expense. What expense? Point number 1, car purchased from manufacturer for making further supply of such car. Now, obviously, we have seen in that first category of exception, what was that? If the car is used to provide your taxable supply, yes, used as a taxable supply, then definitely it is covered in the first exception of motor vehicle. Yes, you can definitely get it, but please read the further. 2 of such cars are destroyed in the accident while being used for the test drive by potential customers. So what you're going to now say that yes, for him the car is eligible for the purpose of ITC. Why? Because this car is used to provide his taxable output supply. However, now you will write what? That however point. In this context, students, so 2 of such cars are destroyed in the accident while being used for test drive by potential customers. So what are you going to say about it, truth? In this context, same thing, na? That if the goods are being destroyed, lost, or written off, then such goods, the ITC on such goods is blocked. The ITC on such goods is blocked. That is what you are going to say about it, isn't it? Point number 2 now, students. Works contract service availed for constructing a car parking shed in its premises. Now, please tell me, works contract services availed for constructing a car parking shed in its premises. Students, works contract service of an immobile property, the block supply. Two exceptions. Exception number one, works contract for plant and machinery. Second exception is works contractor subcontracting services taken by the work contractor. So that is second exception. Now where it is fitting in, see the definition of plant and machinery, the exclusion part. What is the exclusion part? Land, building, or civil construction. So can you say that this construction of car parking shed is a civil construction? And the answer is yes. It is excluded from the definition of plant and machinery. Because it is excluded in the definition of plant and machinery, it will also not fall within the scope of the exception. And since it doesn't fall in the scope of the exception, therefore the ITC cannot be obeyed. I hope that you have taken a note of it. That exactly is the point. This is how you have to write the answer. Let's come to the next question. What is the next question in our list? After this, what was the next question, students? Quickly. Question number 12. This is a good question, students. Question number 12. X, a manufacturer of roofing sheets, is having rupees 1,06,000 as opening balance of ITC for the June month. He provides the following information pertaining to the goods and services procured during the month of June. So he's providing the following information pertaining to the goods and service procured during the month of June. What is that? So opening balance of input electronic credit ledger is 1,60,000. That is the opening balance. Now see point number 1. Input tax on raw material, students, is rupees 40,000. Input tax on raw material, students, is rupees 40,000. The raw material is used for making both taxable and exempt supply. Raw material is used for making both taxable and exempt supply, students. So what are you going to say about it? Input tax on raw material, students, is how much? Rupees 40,000. Can you avail the ITC on this? The answer is yes. Because see, understand one thing, it is used for both taxable and exempt supply. If this would have been used, you will also learn subsequently, if this would have been used exclusively for exempt supply, then it is blocked. You cannot take the ITC for sure. But some students will say, but sir, there is some portion of this input which has been used for exempt supply. What about that? Don't worry, we will do a proportionate reversal. We'll do a proportionate reversal. How to do the proportionate reversal, I'll teach you. Don't worry. That is going to there. It's very simple actually. Point number 2. Input tax on catering services procured from harvest caterers in connection with this housewarming ceremony. So outdoor catering services. Is it? Is the ITC available? No. Is it falling under the exception? Again, the answer is no. Why? Because see, his supply is that of roofing sheet, manufacturing of roofing sheet. Not that he is also having an outward supply of an outdoor caterer. Obviously, even that is not going to be considered. Key point number 3. Input tax on raw material used exclusively in manufacture of exempt supply of rupees 2 lakhs. So how much? What is the value of exempt supply, students? What is the value of exempt supply? 2 lakhs. And how much is the input? How much is the input tax paid on the raw material, which is used exclusively for manufacture this exempt supply? It is 20,000. So can you claim the ITC of this 20,000? No, because it is exclusively used. And point number 4, input tax on cosmetic and plastic surgery of manager of the factory is 30,000. Block supply. Total taxable turnover for the month of June is rupees 60 lakhs, exclusive of tax. Now, taxable turnover is 60 lakhs for the month of June. Can you tell me then what is the total turnover, student? If taxable turnover is 60 lakhs, then what is the total turnover? The total turnover, students, you can also say it is 60 lakhs now. Total turnover, students, it is 62 lakhs. That exactly is the point. So 62 lakhs is the total turnover. Now compute the ITC credited for the month of June to the electronic credit ledger and net GST payable from electronic credit ledger by X for the month of June. Net GST payable from electronic cash ledger for the month of June. So obviously, students, what is this? Obviously, students, tell me what is the GST on the output supply? What is the GST tax on the output supply? Can you tell me that? You should be in a position to calculate fast. What is the GST on the output supply? Therefore, the taxable turnover is 60 lakhs. So on that 60 lakhs, you will apply 18%. That will give you the GST on the output supply. That exactly is the point. That exactly how the things has to be looked upon. Okay, 60 lakhs, which is the taxable turnover, into 18%. Now, on that, you will adjust the ITC as per the electronic credit ledger for the month of June. Now, for that you have the opening balance plus what is the eligible one. So that statement has to be prepared. Now, see students how you will go about it. ITC as per the electronic credit ledger 1,60,000. You will add 40,000 for this. Point number 2, point number 3, and point number 4 no ITC. 2, 3, and 4 no ITC. Therefore, now it is 2 lakhs. Now, on that 2 lakhs, you will have to reverse proportionate credit because that proportionate credit attributable to the exempt supply. How do you do the proportionate reversal? So, proportionate reversal is in simple. ITC that you have claimed on that common input, which is 40,000, and on that 40,000 into the exempt turnover divided by the total turnover. Apply the proportion. Proportion of exempt turnover divided by the total turnover. Therefore, this will become what? 2 lakhs divided by what? Divided by 42 lakhs. So 62 lakhs. That is exactly the proportion, and that is the amount of reversal. Can I show you this one, students? Now, see here. Computation of ITC available as per the electronic cash ledger for the month of June. Just focus on the ITC right now, students. I'm just going to focus on the ITC part, right? Because GST already you have calculated now. 60 lakhs, 18%. GST is 10 lakh 80,000. Now see, opening balance of ITC available in electronic credit ledger is 1.6 lakhs. Just make a note of 1.6 lakhs in your notes. 1.6 lakhs. Then add to that the ITC credited to the electronic credit ledger for the month of June. ITC which is credited to the electronic credit ledger for the month of June. You will take first entire 40,000 and then you will reduce ITC out of common credit attributable. And what is that? Reversal, students? 1290. How you got it? Same thing. 40,000 into 2 lakhs divided by 62 lakhs. So that is 1290. So what is the net ITC available for June? 198,710. So adjust this ITC against the GST liability. This will give you the net GST that you are supposed to pay through electronic cash ledger. This is the net GST that you're supposed to pay through the electronic cash ledger. Is that point clear to all of you, students? So this is a statement that we've discussed that only 40,000 of ITC is available. For the remaining part, ITC is not available. Reasons now you are all capable of now writing the reasons for this. Just go through it once for your reference. Now, students, let's take the next one in this context. I think the next question is question number 21. Question number 21, students. Please have a look. Mrs. XYZ, a registered supplier, supplies the following goods and services. Okay, this question, students, remember part of the question we already have discussed in our composite supply topic, or maybe valuation, one of the two topics. We have discussed already a part of the question. ITC part we have not touched upon deliberately, because ITC we have not done at that time. So this is a completion of that question now. In that way, let's read this one out. So Mrs. XYZ, a registered supplier, supplies the following goods and service for construction of building and complex. excavators for required period at a per hour rate. So this is a supply that they are doing it. What is the supply? They are providing excavators for required period at a per hour rate. Second is, students, manpower for operation of the excavators at the per day rate. Manpower is also provided along with the excavators. Soil testing and seismic evaluation at a per sample rate. If you see further, the excavators are invariably hired out along with operators. Are invariably hired out along with the operator, students. Similarly, excavator operators are supplied only when the excavator is hired out. So can I say therefore, students, in this case, this is a case of what? Students, can I say therefore in this case, this is a case of a composite supply? Because it is compulsorily that I will not give you excavator alone. You will have to take the manpower also. Who is going to operate this excavator? It's a composite supply. And therefore, this manpower supply for operating the excavator, this will be classified with the supply of excavator. The predominant is the supply of excavator. So therefore, the supply of the manpower would be associated with that predominant supply. You all get this one, students, in this context? So Mrs. XYZ receives the following services. Now, this is the inward supply for which you will talk about the ITC. So what is the inward supply? Maintenance service of excavators. Tell me this. Is it a block supply? Now you know that servicing, maintenance and repair of motor vehicle is a block supply. Of motor vehicle is a block supply. Is excavator a motor vehicle? And the answer is no. It is a special purpose vehicle. Excavators cannot be considered to be a motor vehicle. It is a special purpose vehicle and therefore it is not a block. It is not a block supply, students. I hope that all of you are clear with this one. What about health insurance of operators? For operators of excavators, this is blocked. Scientific and technical consultancy for soil testing and seismic evaluation, this would be allowed. ITC would be available for this. So for the given one, the receipts of Mrs. XYZ are as follows. On the receipt, students, this is the receipt of the output supply. This is the receipt of the output supply on which the GST will be calculated. So what are the receipts? Higher charges for excavators, 18 lakhs. Service charges for supply of manpower for operation of excavators, 20,000. Service charges for soil testing and seismic evaluation at 3 sites. How much is that? 2.5 lakh. 2.5 lakh. So therefore, in that particular context, what we are going to do? Now, please be careful. When you calculate the GST liability, this manpower for operation of excavator, this will be classified with this. And if you see over here, from directly the rate of GST for excavators, supply of excavators, 12%. For supply of manpower, 18%. So tell me, this 20,000 of service charges for supply of manpower, this will be classified with the supply of the excavators, and therefore the rate applicable for the supply of excavator would be applied for the supply of manpower also, which is 12%. And the service charges for the soil testing, that will be at 18%. So if you see the table, students, gross computation of gross GST liability in this case. So hiring charges for excavators, 12%. Service charges for supply of manpower, 12%. So this is what it is. And then the service charge for soil testing, this is what it is. Now what this note number 1 would be all about, students? This is about the composite supply. How you are going to write the note? Presentation, students. Presentation. Presentation would be the same the way I have taught you in the composite supply. How you are going to write the notes? Composite supply, put it in the same way. Don't read it over here. I've already given you the structure of your notes of composite supply. Put it in the same way. Classify this as a supply with the predominant one, which is the supply of excavator, and accordingly the rate of 12% has been adopted. Is that clear to all of you, students? Everyone? So this is the credit part of it. This is the output liability. And what about the credit? See the credit part of it. GST paid on the services received. So this is about the input supply. So maintenance of excavators, students. As I told you, excavators are special purpose vehicle. And because they are special purpose vehicle, therefore the credit in respect of such special purpose vehicle would be allowed. What about health insurance? Not allowed. Health insurance will not be allowed. What about the scientific and technical consultancy for soil testing and seismic evaluation? That will be allowed. Compute the net GST payable by Mrs. XYZ from electronic cash ledger for the given month. So we have discussed with this one first. What is the next question? Two questions, students, is homework for you, 35 and 40. Do ensure to do that, but your own practice is also commensurate on that theme. So for every segment, I am going to give you some 3-4 questions, students, for homework, which you will have to deal with it. Unless you also do a parallel practice, it will not fetch any result. Come to question number 25. Beautiful question, students. Beautiful question. Make this to be a last day revision question. Make it as a last day revision question. Last day revision question, students. Flowchem Palanpur, Gujarat has entered into contract with our refinery Abu Road, Rajasthan. Students, Gujarat to Rajasthan. Supply from Gujarat to Rajasthan. This will lead to IGST. IGST, students. That is how the things are there. Isn't it? That is the point. On 1st July to supply 10 valves on FOR basis. So be careful, students. This is the FOR basis. Do you know what you mean by FOR basis? What do you mean by FOR basis? Indeed, FOR basis, students, would mean that the obligation to provide the transportation at the recipient premises, the obligation to provide the transportation at the recipient premises, will that be of the supplier? Take a note of it. FOR means what? The obligation to provide the transportation at the recipient premises, will that be of the supplier? This is what is understood as FOR. This is what is understood as FOR. The following information is provided in this regard. And what is that information? Point number 1, list price per valve is rupees 1 lakh exclusive of tax. See that? List price per valve, which is how much? Is rupees 1 lakh exclusive of taxes. That exactly the point. Therefore, if you see 1 lakh, so if you see how many total valves is provided? 10. So 1 lakh into 10, that would be 10 lakh. So if you see the transaction value 15.1, remember valuation chapter 15.1, transaction value 10 lakhs. Point number 2, one of the condition of the contract, be careful also, this is the condition of the contract, is that Flowchem should ensure a two-stage third party inspection. So this charges whose obligation? Whose obligation? Just like the way we talked about transportation, for the pre-delivery inspection, which has to be carried out by a third party, who will be obligated to do this pre-delivery inspection? Supplier. Supplier's obligation. So one of the conditions of the contract is that Flowchem should ensure a two-stage third-party inspection for the valves during the manufacturing process. Cost of two-stage inspection of rupees 15,000 is directly paid by R, which is recipient, to the testing agency. So obligation of the employer met by the recipient. Sorry, obligation of the supplier met by the recipient. So that will be added under 15.2. That will be added where? Under 15.2. Is that clear to all of you, students? Come to point number 3. Our refinery requires a special packing for the valves. Cost of special packing is 10,000. This is already the cover, students, 15.2. Anything done at the time of supply? Anything done at the time of supply, students? Even that has to be added up, 15 to. Point number 4. Flowcharm arranges for erection and testing of the valves supplied by it at our refinery site. Cost of erection, etc. is rupees 15,000 for 10 valves. So will that also be added? The answer is yes. As a part of the supply. 15.2. Goods are dispatched with tax invoice on 20th of July and they reach the destination at Abu Road on 21st of July. Lorry freight of 5,000 has been paid by R directly to the lorry driver. So again, the obligation of supplier met by the recipient. 15.2. Add. Assume CGST and SGST rate to be 9% each and IGST rate to be 18%. Opening balance of ITC of IGST is nil. CGST is 20,000 and SGST is 20,000. Students, when they give you this bifurcation tax wise, so your presentation of electronic credit ledger also should go tax wise. The presentation of the electronic credit ledger should also go tax wise. Okay, so that is how, but the theme would be the same, the way we discussed. What is the theme? Opening balance, then add the supplies which has been made during the month, which is not blocked under section 17. So those supplies will be considered primarily, and then you will get the total input tax credit ledger credit availability is known by the month end. Now that total credit would then be adjusted against your output liability. So you will reduce your electronic credit ledger from what you are going to adjust against your output liability. And if your output liability is still high, your output liability is still more than whatever is the excess, that will be paid through electronic cash ledger. I hope that all of you are clear with this. So as such, we have discussed this particular point. Now students, see here, the output supply, students, we have discussed. So if you just first only focus on the output supply, students, the discussion which I did, output supply, then we'll go with the ITC part. Output supply, students, 10 lakhs. Amount paid for testing agency, obligation of the supplier met by the recipient, 15,000 add. Special packing, 10,000 add. Erection and testing add. Freight, obligation of supplier met by the recipient add. So value of taxable supply in this context would be 10,45,000 in this regard, students. Then IGST at 18%. Now why IGST? It's an interstate supply. So that note number 4 has been granted, and note number 2 and 3 also have been discussed along with the citation of the section. That is what they have done. Now once we know the output liability, output tax liability, once we are aware of it, now we do what, students? The total credit. Now we do the total credit, students. Let's see the total credit. So Flowcharm has also undertaken following local transactions during the month of July on which it has paid CGST and SGST as under. Availed service of works contractor to erect foundation for fixing the machinery to earth in the factory. Now you tell me in this context. To fixing the machinery to earth in the factory, can I say it is a works contract for plant and machinery? Is the definition of plant and machinery getting satisfied? Yes. So will I be eligible for this credit of 5,000 and 5,000 each? Again, the answer is yes. Point number 2, laid pipelines for the purpose of production facility. Pipeline outside the factory, students. So that exclusion, pipeline which was laid outside the factory, will you be getting what? The ITC? And the answer is no. Therefore, no credit. And the third one, for the purpose of smooth and convenient mobile telecommunication in its factory, it has installed telecommunication tower. Again, covered in the exclusion to the definition of plant and machinery. It is covered in the exclusion to the definition of plant and machinery. So therefore, this is also block credit. So what is allowed only, students, is 5,000 and 5,000 each. Okay, there's something more. Let's see. Point number 4 and 5. It has entered into an agreement with a travel company to provide home travel facility to its employees when they are on leave, 2,500, 2,500. Did they told you that this is a statutory obligation of the employer? No. And if they have not told you that, then the condition of the exception is not fulfilled. So you have to go only with the main provision. What is the main provision? Blocked. Point number 5. It has entered into an agreement with a fitness center to provide wellness service to its employees after office hours. Did they told you that it is an obligation of the employer? No. Statutory obligation, not obligation, statutory obligation. No. Therefore, even this would be a block credit. So finally, you have ITC of CGST and SGST of 5,000 and 5,000 each. ITC of CGST and SGST of 5,000 and 5,000 each. Now you know what is the output liability. Output liability, students, is 1,88,100. And this is IGST liability. Mind you, IGST liability. Now, students, in the previous chapter that we did, payment of tax, in that chapter, didn't I taught you the order in which the adjustment of the credit will be done? The order in which the adjustment of the credit will be done. So tell me now, you have CGST and SGST. You have to pay IGST. In which order the credit will be adjusted? First would be CGST credit. First would be CGST credit, students. And the second credit, students, would be the SGST credit. The second would be the SGST credit, students. That exactly the point. That exactly the point, students. This has also been mentioned over here. Be careful. Please have a look. This has also been mentioned in your part of it. Please be careful. Can you see this main statement? Just see the main statement. Then 7.62. ITC on CGST. ITC on CGST. That I am claiming first. And then ITC on SGST has been utilized only after ITC of CGST has been utilized fully in terms of. Don't write the provision. Just only focus. Please highlight this particular part. This I taught you in the previous chapter. The order in which the credit has to be utilized. I hope that all of you are clear with this one now. With this, we are done with this one now. Get through with everything. No? 2 questions which are there. Homework now 35 and 40. And 40 students. Students, now get started with this last 2 questions, students. 35 and 40, which is the homework, students. I'll see you at night, 9 o'clock for our registration Q&A. Students.